Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby, and today we're going to be doing a major book unhaul. And I mean, as you can see, I'm surrounded by 50 plus books that I'm going to be unhauling. I actually love doing book unhauls, and I try to do them at least twice a year, but it's been 9 months since the last time that I posted a book unhaul. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've definitely been unhauling throughout the year, so it's not like I've been collecting books to unhaul since. But now I felt like it would be a good time to kind of actually look through my bookshelves and decide which books I want to keep and which books I want to unhaul, because I want to go into 2026 with a very fresh look at my bookshelves and know that these are the books that I really intend to keep. And so in today's video, we're going to be going through the books and I'm going to be letting you know which books I'll be unhauling. And if you were wondering, typically when I unhaul my books, sometimes I will give them to my in real life friends who are readers. I think it's actually really great because I do have a few friends in real life who do read, and some of them have very similar taste to me, and then some of them have completely different taste from me. So it's always a great feeling whenever I can pass these books on to my friends. But then I also do take a lot of these to like my little free libraries that are in the area, especially the ARCs, because you're not supposed to resell the ARCs. I also do like taking the books to either my local Goodwill or my local Value Village or any like used bookstores. I know that most libraries will take used books as well. I also know there's a lot of people who sell their used books on Pango, which is a great app. I've bought off of Pango before, but I've never sold on Pango myself. So there are lots of different options for book unhauls, and you can let me know in the comments where you typically take your unhaul books. But yeah, I thought we would go through these. I mean, the first stack of books that I have to share with you, these are some of my book troop picks from the year of 2025. I mean, I'm gonna be holding on to these for the rest of the year just so I can wrap up, you know, the book club, but after the beginning of the year, these will all be leaving my bookshelves. And this is kind of a bummer because as you can see here, we have quite a few book troop picks that I'm not going to be keeping this year. I think out of all the book club picks that I had this year, I really only want to keep like 5 of them on my bookshelves forever. So that is not the best track record for the book troop, but honestly, like what else is new? So one of the books I'll be getting rid of is Tell Me What You Did. I think this one was our April book club pick, and this one was a thriller that I thought it was just fine. I gave this one 3 stars. I'm also going to be unhauling both the January pick as well as the March pick. Listen to Your Sister was a horror book that we read together in March, and I gave it 2 stars. It just really wasn't for me. And then Dark Places is a book that I've had on my TBR for literally forever, and we finally read it for the book troop together in January, and I just really was not a fan of this one. I think I gave it 2 stars. I also gave 2 stars to Matchmaking for Psychopaths, and this one was such a bummer because I really thought I was gonna love this one, but sadly I did not, and I just recently bought this one too for the book troop, so I'm like, gosh dang it. But sadly, this one was not really for me, so I'm gonna be unhauling this one. I was also debating unhauling Immaculate Conception because I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I thought it was just okay, but I'm not gonna lie, I am so tempted to keep this just because it's an Aardvark selection. And you know, Aardvark Book Club is like one of my favorite things ever, and they just make their books so buttery soft, and like the quality of this book is so nice that I'm tempted to keep it just because it's an Aardvark pick. But because I only gave this one 3 stars, I just don't see myself ever coming back to this, and I don't see myself recommending this one very often, so I think I am gonna unhaul it. And then I also have the February pick and the September pick, which is How to Survive a Horror Story. This one is really cool though because it has the really cool sprayed edges, but unfortunately I just didn't care that much for this one. I think I gave it 2 or 3 stars, and even though it's only been a few months, like I can barely remember some of the story. And then Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This one actually hurts me because I really thought that I was gonna love this one, and I just really didn't like this. Like, this is one of my least favorite books that I've read from Alice Feeney, but hopefully we really turn things around for the book troop next year, right? Because one of my first picks for the book troop next year is gonna be the new Alice Feeney book, so hopefully she can really turn things around for me and I like the new one a lot more than I liked this one. I do have a few books that I'm gonna be unhauling that I actually never even got around to reading, but I feel like these books have been sitting on my bookshelves for so many years, and I'm like, okay, I need to be honest with myself. Like, I am not excited about reading any of these, and I also ended up buying some of these for a video project that I never followed through on. And now that it's been a few years since I never finished this video project, I'm like, I don't even know if I'd want to make this video project anymore. I mean, basically the idea for this video project was that I wanted to read horror books that were set in space, and I wanted to do like a whole themed vlog that was like a space, sci-fi, horror kind of vlog, but I realized that I don't really have the desire to read any of these books that I bought for that video. And this was back in like maybe like 2021 that I was planning to make this video. So we have this book called Obscura by Joe Hart that I'm gonna be unhauling. I'm also gonna be unhauling this one called Dead Space by Callie Wallace, and then this other one called Contagion by Aaron Bowman. And I think the main reason why I decided that I didn't want to make this video is because I also tried to read Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. I've tried to read this book 2 different times, and every time I try to get into it, I just feel the immediate urge like I want to DNF this and like I don't care. And that is such a bummer because I've heard from so many people that Dead Silence is like a really good one when it comes to space horror, and then I started to realize maybe I just don't really like space horror that much. I mean, there have definitely been some exceptions in the past for like books that I have enjoyed that are like horror books that are set in space, but for the most part, I just have no interest and no desire in making this video anymore, so I feel like these books are just taking up space on my shelves. I also know that it's a bad sign when, you know, I'm doing these backlist bonanza episodes and I have to put all of the books that are on my backlist on the spin the wheel, and if there are certain books that I'm like, damn, like I really hope it doesn't land on that because I don't want to read it, then like that's a big sign to me that like I'm never going to be in the mood to read this, and like why do I still have it sitting on my shelves? Like for example, The Night Circus. I know this is probably going to hurt some people because I know a lot of people really love this one, but the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, this is so not a me book. You know, sometimes I feel like I get FOMO with books that are like really popular just because a lot of people really love them, but then the more that I think about it, I'm like, I really don't think this is going to be my thing at all. And when I was putting this one on my spin the wheel, I was like, damn, like I really hope I don't get The Night Circus because I was like never in the mood to read it this entire year. But because this book is so well loved, I think it would be best for me to just unhaul this book so that somebody else can have this book in their collection. And if I ever do one day decide to read The Night Circus for some reason, maybe I can just check it out from my library instead. All right, so I have two different stacks of books for like the reasons why I'll be unhauling them, and this first stack is all books that I have read, and then the other stack is going to be books that I've tried to read but I DNF'd them. So this first stack of book is going to be a lot of different like thriller books that I have read, and I just don't see the reason to hold on to any of these. I mean, some of these I did like, and some of these I didn't care for as much. One of them, The Thrashers by Julie Soto. This one's actually a young adult thriller. I thought that I could really love this though because I do love Julie Soto's, you know, adult romance books, and so I was really curious to read a young adult thriller from her, but unfortunately this one just wasn't for me. I think I gave it 2 stars. I also gave 2 stars to The Other Family. I think I gave this one 2 stars. I don't know, this one was very forgettable, and I feel like this was one of those thrillers where the ending, it just ended, and then I was like, what? It was a very weird experience reading this one. And then some of these thrillers are ones that I gave like 3 stars or even like 3.5 stars. Like both of these were enjoyable books for me. I have Nanny Needed by Georgina Cross as well as The Traitors, and both of these books I did like them quite a bit. I feel like sometimes with thrillers, like I just have no reason to keep them on my shelves unless they're like all-time favorites of mine, or I see myself passing these on to a friend like, you have to read this. Like that's not exactly the vibe that I'm getting from either one of these. Same with The Couple's Trip and Such a Bad Influence. These are 2 thrillers that I've recently read that I thought they were pretty good. I think I gave them between like 3 and 4 stars, but I just don't care to keep them on my shelves. And then I also do have a few different thrillers that I've read this year or last year. Like If Something Happens to Me by Alex Finlay. This was a thriller that I actually really liked that I read last year. I think I gave this one 4 stars, but again, it's not an all-time favorite for me, so I don't have any reason to keep this one. And then same with The Man Made of Smoke by Alex North and Don't Open Your Eyes by Liv Constantine. I actually really liked both of these. I read both of these books this year, but again, because I'm never going to return to these and because I just don't have any reason to keep them, I think I'm going to be passing them on to a friend. And then I also have Let Him In, which this one's a backlist, more like horror book that I actually read for the first time this year. I actually read this book when I was reading it for that Backlist Bonanza episode where I read the lowest rated books on my TBR, and I was actually kind of surprised by how much I ended up enjoying this one. I think I gave it like 3.5 to 4 stars, but I also think this is not one that I'm going to be like highly recommending a lot, and it's not going to be one that I'm coming back to. And then I also decided that I'm going to be unhauling The Broken Girls by Simone St. James because this one has been sitting on my shelf since 2018. I think I read it back in 2018 and I really loved it, and I've always considered this to be my favorite book by Simone St. James, but this one is also another book that like it was only 4 stars for me. It's not necessarily an all-time favorite, and the more that I read from Simone St. James, the more that I realize I just don't really care for her writing style very much, so I don't even think that this is one that I would ever come back to. So I've decided to unhaul this one as well, even though this one is a thriller that I would recommend. Some other books that I'll be unhauling that I read this year is Every Time I Go on Vacation Someone Dies. This is one that I actually read during Summerween, and this one was pretty good for like a cozy mystery. I've just come to realize that I don't really love cozy mysteries. I don't think that they're the genre for me, but I do think out of all of the ones that I've read, this one was one of the better ones. I will also be unhauling A Language of Limbs. This is a book that I think I only ended up giving around 3 stars to because I think the concept for this book is so freaking cool. It's one of those like alternate reality books where we kind of follow the same character, and based off of one decision they make, we kind of get to see how their life would be different. I love a premise like that, and I'm almost always going to pick up a book that has a premise like that, but the execution of this one wasn't my favorite. And then I'm also going to be unhauling The Lamb by Lucy Rose. I know, what a bummer. You know, I think I only ended up giving this one like 3 or 3.5 stars, but I know that this is one of the most popular horror books of this year and that a lot of people people are really loving this one. So I figured it was probably time to pass this book on to another reader. Some other horror books that I read this year that I'm not going to be keeping on my shelves include We Love You Bunny by Mona Awad. This one was the sequel slash prequel to Bunny, and sadly this just really did not do it for me, and I was not a big fan of this one. I'm also going to be unhauling Eat the Ones You Love. This is one that I actually read earlier this year for the Literally Dead book club, and I only gave it 2 stars. I really didn't like this one. I really don't see the hype with it. I also read The Hollow Kind earlier this year. This one's a horror book that's been sitting on my backlist shelf for a while, so I'm glad that I finally got around to reading it, even though I think most of this book was so slow. And then I will be unhauling The Haunting of Payne's Hollow, even though I did have a fun time like actually reading this one because this was the book that I took with me when I went on my trip to Sleepy Hollow. I really thought in the first half of this book, like I thought this was gonna be like a new favorite, and I was so excited about it, but then by the ending it just really got really cheesy and cringy, and I hated, like I really didn't like the second half of this book. And then, oh my god, okay, the fact that I'm gonna be unhauling Hazelthorne by CJ Drews, that's the biggest plot twist. Like this is the worst news ever for me because, you know, Don't Let the Forest In by CJ Drews is probably like my favorite book that I've read this year in the year of 2025. So naturally Hazelthorne was one of my most anticipated books for the second half of this year, and I just read it for a reading vlog and I didn't even like this. I gave it 2 stars, and that is the most devastating and heartbreaking upset of the entire year for me. Like I cannot even believe that I didn't like this book. So sadly I'm gonna be unhauling my copy of Hazelthorne. Ugh, this actually breaks my heart. Another horror book that just really wasn't for me was The Changeling by Victor LaValle. This is one that I actually just read very recently, and I think I'm starting to figure out that this author, Victor LaValle, I just don't know if he's the author for me. I feel like a lot of his horror books tend to lean very fantasy in a way that just kind of like loses my interest. Some classics that I've had on my TBR for like literally forever that I'm going to be unhauling include The Vegetarian and The Stepford Wives. Both of these books were books that I ended up reading this year, finally. Like I've had these books on my TBR for quite some time, and both of them were just okay. Like I definitely liked The Vegetarian more than The Stepford Wives, but I didn't really care for either one of these as much as I thought I would. I'm also going to be unhauling this little poetry collection that I read earlier this year called A Little Daylight Left, and these are poems by Sarah Kay. I think out of all the poems in this collection, I only really enjoyed like 2 of them, maybe like 2 or 3 of them, but I'm glad I got to read it because I've been really wanting to get back into poetry. I'm also going to be unhauling this manhwa that's called Wet Sand Volume 1. This one was interesting. It was a good read. I gave it 3 stars maybe, or 3.5 stars, but I don't think this is going to be a series that I'll be coming back to. And then I also have a few different romance books that I'm going to be getting rid of that I read this year. One of them was The Seemingly Impossible Love Life of Amanda Dean. Oh my god, this book had all of the potential in the world because the concept is very cool, and it's kind of like a How I Met Your Mother kind of a concept. We have a girl who's getting married, but we don't know which of her ex-romantic partners she's getting married to. And then this book is kind of told in flashbacks, and we get to see her relationships with all these different people because she's bisexual. This was such a cool concept, but it honestly was such a letdown with like the writing. I just didn't feel connected to this at all. I also have He's to Die For. This one is a really cute like queer romance between this detective and then the lead suspect on a case that he's working on. Oh, this one had so much potential to be great, but I just thought this one was okay. This honestly read a little bit more like a cozy mystery than a romance, and I think that's partially why it didn't really work for me. I'm also going to be unhauling The Honeycrisp Orchard Inn because this book was such a hot mess. I think I ended up giving this one 2 stars. It started off fine, but like honestly the amount of times that this character would like mention dementia in like a jokey way, it was just so bizarre to me, and I don't know how this book got published with all of that mess in it. And then I'm also going to be unhauling The Heartbreak Hotel as well as Well Actually. I definitely enjoyed Well Actually quite more than this one. Like this book just ended up being fine for me. You know, a lot of people said this one was a really emotional read, and like I didn't really get that from this. And then Well Actually is a book that I did enjoy for the most part. I actually really loved the love interest in this book. I think his name was Riley Cooper, but then the main girl, Eva, she kind of like drove me a little bit crazy in this book, and I didn't always love like her decisions. And I think because I had so many problems with her, it definitely like took down my enjoyment overall of the story. But this is a romance that was pretty cute, and I would still recommend reading it. I just don't think it's gonna stay on my bookshelves forever. Okay, and then this last stack of books here are all books that I have DNFed within the year. And you know me with DNFing this year, I have been on a DNFing streak. Like I am just DNFing left and right, but I feel like it's really improved my reading year because I'm not finishing books that I'm not interested in reading. And so one of the books that I will be getting rid of is When the World Tips Over by Jandy Nelson. This one is such a bummer that I didn't really care about this one, and I think I got like 100 or maybe like 150 pages into this one. I mean, this one is a young adult, you know, like contemporary romance, but I used to love Jandy Nelson stuff, so I really thought this one could be for me. I am just not not interested in finishing this book at all. I also have Backhanded Compliments. This one is a romance book that I've tried to read like 2 separate times. I tried to get into this and I just can't seem to get into this. Like both of the characters are just so flat and so boring and so uninteresting. I have the books The Float Test as well as Smile for the Cameras. Both of these books are also ones that I DNF'd. I think for The Float Test, I only got like a few chapters into this one, and then Smile for the Cameras, I want to say I got like 50 or 60 pages into this one before I decided to DNF. I thought I would really love this one because I do typically love horror books that are kind of about horror movies or when we follow like an actress who's the protagonist, but this one just really did not grip me right off the bat and I was so bored with the storyline. I have so many different romances that I've been trying to read over these last couple of months and I just can't seem to get into any of these. One of them is Can't Help Falling in Love. This is one that I actually started listening to on audio just pretty recently here, like this was just a few weeks ago, because I thought this would be the perfect thing to read in the fall. And look at that beautiful Seattle skyline in the background. Like, oh my god, I love this cover. I think I was only a few chapters into this book before I was like, yeah, you know what? No, I'm not feeling it at all. I also sadly just recently DNF'd both People Watching and Soul Searching by Lila Sage. People Watching is one that I was actually really excited about because I recently just read Out on a Limb by this author and I loved that book. Oh my god, 5 stars, so good. Then I was trying to read this one and I want to say I got like 50 to 100 pages into this one before I was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this one very much. And then when I went on Goodreads, all of my friends, like literally every single person that I trust, has rated this book really low and said like this was not a favorite from this author and that it doesn't even feel like it's from the same author. So I think I'm gonna like save myself from the disappointment and just unhaul this one because I wasn't feeling it at the start of it. Same with Soul Searching by Lila Sage. I feel like this author just might not be for me. I really wanted to try this book because this one is actually described as like a paranormal kind of romance or like supernatural. And Lila Sage is the author of all of those cowboy romance books, like the Done and Dusted books. And I wasn't the biggest fan of the cowboy romances, but I thought maybe this would be more up my alley, but no, I just really didn't care for this one either. Some romance books that I was reading for a Backlist Bonanza episode include The Takeover and The Slowest Burn and Under Your Spell. All 3 of these books were ones that I attempted to read in the same video. Like I was really struggling in that video because I ended up DNFing all 3 of these and I just did not care about anything. And oh my gosh, the writing in The Slowest Burn, like what the heck? I think I only got like 30 pages into this one, but some of the quotes that I was reading from this book in that video that I made, what the actual fuck? The writing in this was so weird. I'm also, oh my god, this is devastating, but I'm gonna be unhauling Dream On Ramona Riley by Ashley Herring Blake. This is one that I definitely bought because I love the cover. Like I am such a sucker for this cover. It is beautiful, but also because I have read books that I've enjoyed from this author in the past, but this one, I just did not feel the chemistry between these two at all, and I was just so immediately bored. I also very recently just DNF'd An Academic Affair by Jodi McAllister, and this is one that I was so excited about because both of these characters are English professors, and it says that they take on a fake relationship, so it involves fake dating. We have 2 characters who are professors. Like this just sounded like one of my dream romance books. Like I really thought that I was gonna love this, but this is another one where I got like 50 to 60 pages in and I was so immediately bored and I did not care, and I just hate that feeling so much. I also ended up DNFing Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and honestly, like what was I even thinking buying this book, to be honest? I feel like this is one of those romance books that I see all the time around like TikTok, or like a lot of the romance girlies really seem to be like loving this author. So I thought I would give this one a shot, and like maybe this is a romance book that I would have loved, like maybe if I read it like 10 years ago. But honestly, like this is so not my taste when it comes to romance books these days. I think I bought this one at a half price books for like pretty cheap. So it's not like I had the highest hopes for this one, but no, after reading like, I think I got like 80 pages in and I was just like, yeah, no. Another book that I was starting to read very recently that was almost an immediate no for me was Great Disasters by Grady Chambers. This is one that I just thought the cover was so beautiful, and I bought it because it compared itself to Boyhood, which is like one of my favorite movies. But like, oh my god, I think I only got like 20 to 30 pages into this one before I was like, no, this is not for me. The writing in this book just felt so pretentious and it just really bothered me. I also ended up DNFing the book Myra, which this was such a bummer because I really had high hopes for this one. God, for a second I was like, did I DNF this book or did I finish it? I don't think I finished it. It's literally that forgettable to me that like I can't even remember right now if I finished this. No, I think I DNF'd it. I just really was not a big fan of the way that this book was written. And same with Bittersweet. Oh my god, this is another one that I had the highest hopes for this one. I even saw this one comparing itself to like Blue Sisters. And I usually love like literary fiction that's kind of more like character driven and focused on like female stories. I usually love that kind of stuff in my literary fiction. And also the chapters were just so long. There were so many pages that looked like this. It was just not exactly what I was hoping for. Another book that's like more literary fiction that I thought that I would love is Evenings and Weekends Weekends. Oh my gosh, when I tell you that this is one of my favorite book covers that I've ever seen in my life, I'm obsessed with this. It is so pretty. And I really thought that I was gonna love this one because it seems like a lot of people who are really into like the lit fic stuff really do love this one, but I could not. This book was just so hard for me to get into. Like, we were following so many characters and I just didn't care about any of them. Oh, I'm so bummed about it though. Like, part of me is like, maybe I should just hold on to this and then come back to it at a later time, but like, I just can't get into this one. Another one that I couldn't really get into is Definitely Better Now. I feel like this is one that I really should have looked into it more before, you know, buying this book from the used bookstore and reading it, because I didn't realize that this story was going to be so heavily about this character who is dealing with being an alcoholic and like trying to be sober. And this entire story is revolving around her sobriety and like how difficult it is for her. And that just wasn't really what I was expecting from this book. So I just realized that this one wasn't really for me. One that I was trying to read over this summer was Overgrowth by Mira Grant. And this one is a sci-fi book that I thought really could be for me because, you know, this one involves aliens. And I was reading this one during Summerween and I think I got like 60 pages into this before I was like, yeah, you know what? I just don't care. And then these last two books are two books that I've very recently hauled and very recently DNFed. I have Aftertaste, which this is one that I thought the premise for this was so cool and so unique because we follow this guy who has this ability where like he can taste the food of like a ghost, and then he has the ability to like bring people together for one final meal after they've died. The premise for this just sounds really cool and like really up my alley, but like there was something about the writing in this book. There was such a disconnect for me. I just could not get into this book for the life of me. So that's really sad for me. Like, I don't know if this is one that I'll try to come back to like later on, but I don't see myself loving this one now that I've started it. I think I got like 50 pages in and I'm so bummed about it. And then also we have The Wasp Trap. You know, I had convinced myself that this was gonna be like my new favorite thriller ever. I don't know why. When I saw this cover, I was like, oh hell yeah. Like, this is gonna be some great shit. I feel like sometimes when I see a cover, I just get really excited, and then when I read the synopsis and it says that this is perfect for fans of Lucy Foley and Alice Feeney, those are two authors that I've really loved in the past, so I just let myself get so excited for this book. And then I got 80 pages into this one and I was like, wow, you know, like I really don't like the writing style at all. I just don't feel connected to anything that's happening, and it just really wasn't for me. Ugh, what a bummer though. I just really thought this was gonna be a special one and I was highly anticipating it for months. So that's always like the worst feeling ever when that happens. But yeah, those are all of the books that I'm gonna be unhauling today. I feel like I might even do some more unhauling before the end of the year if I like really go through my bookshelves again. Because, you know, once you get that feeling of wanting to unhaul stuff, I feel like it kind of like creates a monster. And I'm also like, I need space for more of the books that I love, you know? I'm probably gonna be doing another book haul closer to the end of December, like maybe right after Christmas, because I do have a lot of books recently that I've been hauling like right before the end of the year. And so I thought it would be nice to have another cute little book haul right around Christmas time. If you missed it, one of my last videos that I just posted was an announcement about the BookTube book club. And then I also had a few different announcements about some changes happening on my Patreon and my channel next year, as well as the Film Queens podcast with my sister making a comeback. So if you missed any of those announcements, I will have that video linked down below. But thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye.